Okay, I want to talk to you just for a few minutes about what to do in the event of a nuclear war. If something happens that these idiots that are running our country and running the world decide that it's in their best interest to basically turn the world into some kind of a firebomb. So this is going to be absolutely ridiculous if they do some stupid shit like that, but it can very well happen. So let's just talk about it for a minute. Let's talk about, first of all, a nuclear strike, what that means. So I'm just going to go in terms of like a 1 megaton bomb. So a 1 megaton bomb will basically destroy everything within 1 kilometer radius. Basically, it will cremate and vaporize everything in 1 kilometer. 7 kilometers is going to also destroy about everything in 7 kilometers with shock wave, which means pressure, wind, and thermal radiation, or basically heat. When you get out to 12 kilometers, the fallout is going to also be thermal radiation, meaning that the blast and the light heat is going to basically burn and cook anybody that is in the line of sight of that. So that's important to remember. And then when you get into the 20 kilometers, out to 20 kilometers, it's going to be able to blind and still burn you pretty good. So knowing those things, and 20 plus kilometers, you're going to deal with radiation fallout, meaning the particles that were thrown up into the air that were radiated is going to rain down on top of you and then cause radiation poisoning, burn you, all kind of stuff. So knowing those things right there, let's talk about how we can survive a nuclear war if we're not in the actual blast area. Now you're within about, I'm thinking of 7 kilometers, you can just about forget it. Okay, so if you're in the big cities, you know, I'm in Florida, so I'm thinking the targets in Florida would be like Jacksonville, because there's a lot of naval air stations there. It'd probably be Tampa, because that's where the head of all our special operations are. And it'd probably be like Miami, might even be Tallahassee, some of those places. So if you're in one of those cities, my advice to you is get the hell out of there now. Well, I got a job. Well, you want to live? I mean, get out. Get out now. If you're in other states, I don't know what all your critical sites are in other states. I do know, like in Georgia, Kings Bay, Georgia is probably not a good place to be. Other places like that. So that's the first thing you can do, is get out of the critical areas. Now, to survive this thing. So let's say that you're here and you look up and you see a mushroom cloud. First thing you need to do is look away from that. Don't look at it with your eyes, because it's going to be 6,000 degrees, which is basically the temperature of the sun. Okay, so that can burn your retinas out. That can burn you. So you want to look away. You want to fall to the ground if you have nowhere else to take shelter. Get behind the biggest, massive object you can find. If you can get in a hole, that's much better. If you can get in a culvert, that's better. If you can get behind a brick structure, that's better. Anything that you can get behind that puts mass between you and the blast, you need to do that immediately. Don't stand and look at it and let it burn you. So what's happening is those particles are coming at you. The shock wave is coming at you. You need to get down. They used to say, duck and tuck. So I don't know, that was the old way back in the 60s or whatever, but I don't know. I would basically say get behind the biggest mass, don't look at it, and then seek shelter immediately after that. So let's say you survive the blast. Let's say you survive the first initial thing. So now you've got this big mushroom cloud of radiation fallout in the air, and it's about to come down on you. It'll take 5 to 10 to 15 minutes for it to fall on you. The critical thing is to get out of outside and get in shelter immediately. Get in some type of shelter, and the more mass you can put between yourself and the outside, the better. So if you got an underground shelter, that'd be great. If you don't, if you have a big building, you're in the city, or you're in some city that has apartments, go to the center of the apartments. Okay, so you're going to need a shelter as soon as possible. you're gonna need to strip off your clothes if you feel like you've got any radiation on your clothes. And you're gonna need to shower as soon as possible. Strip and shower. So it's shelter, strip and shower. You wanna shower with soap and some charcoal if you can, but do not use conditioner, because conditioner will make the radiation stick to your body. You want to get the radiation off of you. It's going to be like ash or sand or something like that. Whatever that bomb is thrown up into the air and falling back down on you is what you're going to be facing. And then you're going to want to stay in that shelter where you're at. And I know this is, people go, well, I'm not staying there. Well, you're going to have to stay there for at least 3 days. If not, you're going to get radiation poisoning. If you go out and walk through the radiation on the ground, you're going to get radiation poisoning. When that radiation goes off and it falls to the ground, within 1 day, 99% of it has dissipated, but it's still falling every day. So what they're saying is, and still that 1% can make you sick. So you need to stay inside at least 72 hours. That's what the government is posting. Now, if it was me, I'd stay in there a week, because I do not want to die from radiation poisoning or get sick from it, because it will make you puke, it'll make you headaches, it'll make you bleed internally and externally, and it's a terrible death. You do not want to die that way. So anyway, you want to shelter, shower, get rid of those clothes, and then stay there for as long as possible. Now, if you don't have water, of course, you're gonna have to add some water. So that brings us to our next point. What's the best way to survive this thing, to be prepared? How can we prepare ahead of time a little bit to be ready to survive this thing? So I've come up with a response, kind of like a response kit that we could use to survive this thing. So you see the cloud, you see the fireball, you turn away immediately, you drop, you get into some type of shelter. If you're not very close to it, then you get home, and then you want to take off all your clothes, leave them outside, put them in a garbage bag or something, and then go inside and shower and clean your, if you're a female, I tell you, I will just go ahead and shave my head and get that hair off of me, so that, you know, you don't have the radiation in your hair and then get into your scalp. And I would wash severely. And then, so that's immediate action. The second thing, you know, if you get into shelter, have you some water and food in there that you can stay a week without going outside. Get into the center portion. And then the third thing is, have a kit with you. And when I say a kit, I have a little kit made up here that I'm going to carry, that I carry with me for nuclear fallout kit. And it is crazy that we're having to do this, but so that's broken. The first thing in my kit is a mask, because I don't want to breathe those particles in and them get in my lungs, and I can't get them out because radiation particles are heavy. The second thing I want to have is a nuclear meter, nuclear Geiger counter. So what this thing does is it basically just tells me what the levels are around me. And it's going to sit here and read the levels around me. And right now it's reading there's a certain amount of radiation in the air. Anything above 0.52 is dangerous. So this thing's going to sit here and tell me, like right now it's 7 where I'm at right now. Okay, I got this off of Amazon. The next thing I'm going to have is a radio. With this Bayphone, I want to be able to contact people locally, that my loved ones, and I also want to be able to scan and see what's going on the local bands for the sheriff's department, things like that. I want to know what's going on. And then I'm also going to have some improvised nuclear biological suits. Now, I have some of the ones that you can buy. You can buy them off Sportsman's Guide, which are actually a old NBC suit from the military. And if you have any of that stuff, that's great. The problem is you're going to have to get rid of it as soon as you wear it. It's not like something you can wear around all the time. So your shoes are going to be contaminated. That's going to be contaminated. You have to get rid of it. So just to get you inside or whatever, or wherever you're at, to try to keep the radiation so you can rinse it off of you, you can just get it off of you quickly, is just a big garbage bag, like a 55-gallon garbage bag. You can use it, you can cut a hole in the top, you can put it over you, and it will keep a lot of the radiation off your clothes. Some of the military military NBC suits come with a big garbage bag like that. That's what this is. This came actually out of one, and it's a little thicker. And what you do is, as soon as you see you're in an environment like that, you put this on over your regular NBC suit, and it helps keep some of that stuff off of you. So I keep those two in. Then I also have this little thing that says nuke kit, and I know this is in reverse, and I'm sorry, but if I turn this thing around, it'll take me hundreds of times to try to get myself centered and all that stuff. So if you see the Army on top, it's spelled backwards, that means everything's in reverse. But this actually says nuke kit. It's in a little pencil holder like you guys have seen me have before. And inside here, there's a couple things that you can get and you can use also that are really helpful. And number one is this little baby right here. This is a little tag that you can put on your clothes that tell you when you get up to the dangerous levels of radiation. And this is really good to have in your wallet or whatever, or give one to every member of your family. They're a little pricey. These were $27 a piece, and I'm sure you might get them cheaper, but that was on Amazon. And they're called Rad Triage. Rad Triage. You have to read that backwards. I'm sorry. But and then there's some iodine pills, and you can read this backwards too, that you can get, that you could take. And what it does, now there's the little pills that come in there. I think they're let's see what it says. They're 130 milligram tablets, and adults over 18 are supposed to take 130 milligrams a day of that. Now, you need to consult a doctor. I am not a doctor. I am not an expert on any of this medication. So you need to consult a doctor and talk to them, or do your own research. Don't take my advice for that. This is merely what I'm going to do. And these are the 130 milligram tablets that come in it. It says take one of these a day. Now, does this make you immune to radiation? No, it doesn't do anything like that. It doesn't keep you from getting burnt. It doesn't do anything. It just makes your thyroid fill up with the iodine, and it won't accept the radiation thyroid or the whatever. I don't know all these terms, but it won't fill up with the other stuff. So it basically blocks your thyroid from accepting more and giving you cancer and stuff like that. So it doesn't do a lot of good. It just helps a little bit. So as soon as I see the mushroom cloud, I'm going to shelter. I'm going to stay inside for a week. I'm going to take one of these pills a day, and I'm going to use my little meters, the little card and the meter that you just seen, to monitor what's going on and to know what the levels are, because it might be that it goes off and the wind blows it away from you and you're not even affected and you're able to go out and do things. Now, the other things you're going to need to expect during all this, you need to expect the power to go out. I'm sure they're going to attack our infrastructure. The power is going to go out. So what does that mean? That means you're not going to be able to get water unless you've got power. So you need to have a way to have water and food without having power. So it's Florida, it's hot. It's also going to be hot inside. You cannot lift the windows. These are going to be some issues you need to think about right now. It's not going to be fun, folks, if our idiot leaders play this out down this dangerous road of annihilation. It's not going to be pretty. They're already doing stupid shit now. They're letting the price of diesel get, which is worse. I mean, think about it. The price of diesel is getting so expensive now that, of course, that's going to trickle down, or not trickle down, it's going to flow down the line. It's going to make food cost so much you won't be able to afford it. It's going to make transportation cost so much that if you do order something, it's going to cost 3 times the amount to get here. It's just going to destroy our economy. We're about to face something bigger than the Great Depression, and it's going to be bad. And the reason it's going to be worse now than it was in the Great Depression is because in the Great Depression, everyone had a garden. Everybody knew how to survive. Everyone had cows and chickens and things like that. Now, most of the people live in the city. There's nothing. They're dependent on the supply chain, and that is about to collapse. So go get some food, go get some of this stuff that we talked about, and try to be halfway prepared for when you see that mushroom cloud. You're not going, oh gosh, I'm dead. At least you can try to survive it. Okay? All right. I hope this helped you out. Oh, one more thing I did learn. I almost forgot to throw this in. One of the other preppers online was talking about some foods and stuff that you can eat that will help you get rid of different toxins. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to be the guru of this, and I have not tried it. It's just what I heard, and I hate to pass on things that I heard because sometimes they're pure bullshit. But this, he said there was some research behind it, so I'm going to go ahead and put it out. He says that in some of the countries where people had been exposed to nuclear radiation, the ones that drank a lot of apple juice that had pectin in it did better than the ones that didn't. It helped get rid of some of that radiation out of their body. I don't know. That's just something I'm giving you. If you want to buy some more apple juice, that's cool too. The other thing I want to tell you, that this is something that the military uses, is they actually distill water. Like if you have water that you think might have got exposed, let's say, and you need to drink it, but if you drink it, it's going to kill you with radiation in it. So you need to distill it. How do you distill water? Of course, you have a container that you boil it, the vapors go up and it cools, and then it comes down. So what happens is the heavy metals, the heavy radiation stays in this container, and then the clean water comes out in the other side. So distilled water, if you can distill it yourself, you can assure that it wasn't exposed by that. Now, what happens to the that's contaminated, right? So it's not a clean thing, man. It's going to be a lot of craziness. You're going to have to just weigh the different risk and try to survive. If you start getting a bad headache, you start throwing up a lot, that's a good sign that you've gotten some radiation exposure and some radiation poisoning. And it destroys your bone marrow, it destroys some of your DNA, it makes you and it makes you where you cannot resist diseases and things like that as well. So your red blood cells. So that's the kind of effect it has on you, radiation does. So folks, it's going to be hard either way. But voting has consequences, and you got to think about this. When you vote people in office that do stupid shit, you're going to get stupid shit results. You're going to end up suffering the consequences. Us as Americans, really, we've lived pretty heathenistic for years. We've escaped a lot of stuff, and our time is coming. And the best thing you can do is get on your knees tonight and repent and beg God to give you guidance, and beg God to spare us, and be honest about it, and do your best to just repent. And I don't know, I just feel sorry for our nation. I've seen us go down this road, and I've said it over and over that this won't last forever, like it is. So I hope this helped you out a little bit. I hope it didn't depress you a lot. The hope you have is an eternity if you're saved. And yeah, this earth is not forever. This life is not forever. At best, we maybe get 100 years, so you have to plan for eternity much more than you plan for what's going on in this life. But I'm trying to help you at least get through this life. We're supposed to try our best to stay and live and thrive here and do God's will here. And this is the knowledge. And you can't just sit back and go, well, God's just going to save me. Okay, what if Noah would have done that? If he just sit back and said, I'm not building an ark, God's just going to keep the water from flooding me out. No, God gives you information. He sends people to give you advice. He sends people to warn you. And if you don't listen, that's on you. Okay? Go out and make your space, I don't know, whatever, safe, better,